This is David Bergman, and you're streaming the Melodies and Memories podcast with Jillian and Aaron Schreiber.
Welcome to the Melodies and Memories podcast with Jillian and Aaron Schreiber, brought to you by Arlo Revolution. Each week, they connect melodies and memories with fans and singer-songwriters from all genres of life. When all else in life is gone, music will be left to leave the legacy of life's adventures. Please welcome your hosts of the Melodies and Memories podcast, Jillian and Aaron Schreiber.
Hey, all right, man. This gonna be a fun one. Friday night, I'm loving this. I don't think we've ever done a Friday night show.
I don't know.
It's gonna be
We've
fun.
had a few one-offs there.
Snowing again outside. So we live between Chicago and Milwaukee. We've been getting some good snow lately. But hey, guys, we're gonna check out the audio and see if everything's sounding good. If you are in the chat, give us a thumbs up and let us know you're listening. We're fingers crossed. Everything so far tonight has been perfect.
We're
so
super excited.
last time we tried this episode, we had a little bit of technical difficulties, but I think we got everything worked out. Everything's sounding good, and we are excited.
Yeah, we're ready to go.
Sound good on your end?
Yeah,
Cool.
You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, and welcome everyone to season 7 of the Melodies and Memories podcast. I'm your co-host, Jillian Schreiber.
And I'm your host, Aaron Schreiber.
Our mission tonight is to provide a platform for motivated singer-songwriters, passionate fans, or someone who's making a difference in and around the music community. We hope everyone listening leaves inspired with a positive outlook and begins connecting their own melodies to memories. Tonight, we're presented by our good friends at Arlo Revolution. Cinematic wedding films, music videos, and promos. Find them at arlorevolution.com. And One Tree Planted. For every 1,000 downloads of the show, we plant a tree with One Tree Planted. Download the show on your favorite podcast app. And Poddex. Poddex is the hottest tool to get your next great interview. Unique interview questions in the palm of your hand. Our on-screen sponsors are Art on a Higher Wire by Joelle, original and custom artwork inspired by life moments, treasured photos, and memories. If you're looking for ways to support our show, head on over to Melodies and Memories, musicmedia.com. Head on over to our Patreon page as well. You see, start just at $1 a month. If Patreon is something that you can't do, the next best way to support the show is to like, share, review, and subscribe. Remember, you can join us live every Monday night at 7 p.m. Central on Facebook and YouTube, where you can interact with the show, ask questions, or join in on our live chat with your favorite guests. Remember to visit our website, melodiesandmemories.com, for music news, concert reviews, and photos, playlists, and more.
All right. We made it.
It's been a long week.
So we were been very excited for this show. We were supposed to do the show a few weeks back before Bowen Young played the City Winery, but they played City Winery here in Chicago a couple weeks ago. We got to see them. Amazing show. If you haven't read the review yet, definitely check that out. Just the show was just unbelievable. Just very intimate, sit down, quiet. I just loved it, and loved the City Winery too. It's the first time we've ever been there. But we kind of crossed paths with Claire years ago. I used to be in hospitality at the Genesee Theater, and she came through with the Nashville show. Jillian and I were both huge Nashville fans back in the day. Mm-hmm. We actually have a son named Avery, probably because of that show. So I mean, it was leaning. That was leaning. But so tonight we welcome in Bowen Young for episode 159. Bowen Young is a husband and wife duo hailing from Nashville, Tennessee. As singer-songwriters, they use their music to battle the curves that life throws at them. They are a testament to the power of art and the strength of their bond, creating an atmosphere that is uplifting and inspirational. Their melodies are crafted with emotion and are sure to touch the heart of any listener. With Bowen Young, you'll never be without a powerful anthem to help overcome the hardships of life. And tonight, we are honored to discuss the melodies and memories that make up their journey. We're going to go ahead and welcome on. Audio good?
Yeah.
I was praying. I was ready for it. Guys, welcome to the show. We are so excited to have y'all on.
Oh man, thanks for having us. We really appreciate it.
Go ahead.
I'm glad it worked this time. Sorry about last time.
Oh, no problem. It was, man, we got frustrated for a minute because we wanted that show so bad. We were so excited to have you guys, but I'm glad we were able to work it out and get you guys on. So like I said, we were huge fans in Nashville, but that's kind of where our journey started with you guys. We want to throw it back and kind of know where your journey started with music, kind of separately, like kind of what you guys were growing up listening to when you were younger.
Well, go ahead there, baby. Or you want me to run with it? I'm happy.
Gosh. Everything from Stephen Sondheim to Elvis to Dolly Parton to Loretta Lynn to Cash to, gosh, I think my first CD was the Cranberries, no need to argue. Got my first cassette was Graceland by Paul Simon. And it's really wide range of things, like a lot of Rolling Stones. Yeah, my parents, they love music, so they were not shy in exposing both me and my brother to as much as they possibly could.
Yeah, I think for me it was my parents were big Kenny Rogers fans, Reba McEntire, the Carpenters. My dad loves Johnny Mathis, so we spent a lot of time listening to those artists. And you're young, so you don't realize sort of the effect that those artists have on you. But if you grow up singing, you sort of start to like mimic these artists that you've been listening to, and you start to sort of develop your own sort of amalgam of I wouldn't call it vocal technique because I haven't ever had training, but you definitely sort of develop this unknowing little amalgam of influences that sort of shape the way that you sing. But I would say my most powerful musical influence as a young person was my mother. She would sing to us at our bedside. My sister and I sing to us at our bedside, and that's really where I, at 2 and 3 and 4 years old, learned how to sing, was just at bedtime with mom.
Love that.
That's
dude.
a special memory.
That
I love that.
is,
I did that
yes.
with my boys.
Yeah.
I can't sing though.
But yeah,
Everyone can sing.
But but I think that's a special memory for sure.
Yeah, I love that. So, Brandon, you're from Connecticut, Claire, Australia. I have a cousin that lives out there now, and she just loves it. And I have never been, but amazing, just amazing. Did you guys ever have a concert, kind of your first concert, any concert, maybe kind of growing up that just changed or kind of said, "This is what I want to do"? Did you have any experience at all from that?
Go ahead.
I mean, when I was young, my first concert that I can recall was Amy Grant.
Nice.
And I think she came to Springfield, Massachusetts, and we and some friends went to the show. And I don't remember how old I was. I was young. That was my first concert. And I think when I was a young person, it was, she might as well have been a space alien. Like it's from another planet, somebody who's, on this big stage under these lights. It wasn't something that I ever even had an inkling of a thought that I could do. It was never on my radar that this was something that was a possibility for normal people. And so I was just happy as a spectator. I was just happy to listen to records, and I enjoyed singing, and I grew up singing in church, children's choir, and my mom put me up in front of the church I think my first solo was when I was 4 or 5 years old.
Wow.
In front of the church, and
rainbow suspenders.
Yeah, this little Baptist church in my hometown. I was wearing jeans.
So you probably seen pictures.
And reds and rainbow suspenders. So yeah, those were my humble beginnings, I suppose.
Claire, what about you? Did you have a concert, maybe like your first concert, or anything that made you kind of say, "This is what I want to do," or I want to be on that stage"?
Oh gosh, my parents, I was really lucky. They took me everywhere, and they're incredibly adventurous people. So went to lots of musical theater. But the earliest memory of music that I have was mum and dad. So about over half of our family are members of the LGBTQ community. So I think it's probably more than half now, since everybody's kind of coming out. And my godparents lived in a place near. It was like a lot of drag shows there, and I don't know how old I would have been. Really young. It was probably right before chemotherapy, so maybe 5. Oh, no, 4. Yeah. And my godparents helped raise me. They're incredible. They're two men who've been together for over 50 years. And my parents were out with them one night. And if I got tired, because I loved music of all kinds, if I got tired, I just like pop under the table of wherever they were and go to sleep on a pile of jackets. Like it was,
Yep.
they took me to Zimbabwe. Like they took me everywhere. So
That's
there was,
amazing.
and this was not an unusual thing. And I remember the like beautiful, colorful lights and peeking out from underneath the tablecloth and seeing these gorgeous drag artists who are so talented and like nothing explicit at all. It's not what drag is. But I just thought they were so beautiful and so like just magic. Like and the tallest people I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my very earliest memory of a show.
Love that.
Ever. And it all kind of, I guess, stemmed from there. I've never really told anyone that.
No, that's awesome. I love that. I mean, because honestly, that's what changes people. I always talk about my first concert was Kiss. So I mean, I went and saw that, and I got to see this huge rock show production from me. I'm like, what am I witnessing?
It's like the experience.
Yeah.
You know, it's the production and the experience and the art of it.
But all three of us,
and to see it through like a child's eyes.
Amy Grant, the drag show, they all were larger than life to us when we saw that, and just was like just in awe of it, which I love.
Kind of formed who you are.
So Claire, when you were 4 or after your 4th birthday, you were actually diagnosed with pediatric cancer. And that's kind of what got you singing and doing accents, I guess. Jillian here, she works for City of Hope. She's actually a nurse, cancer treatment center for a while.
Yeah, we just changed over.
So
but I've been an oncology nurse for 15 years now.
You're amazing. Thank you for what you do. You guys make all the difference, really.
The true rock stars of the world.
Yeah.
I love oncology.
So tell me how important music was to you at that time of your life when you were kind of going through the treatments and everything like that. Where did music shine for you?
Well, I guess music is a universal language, so it was my window to the world. It takes you away from the stuff that is scary about living in a hospital for years. Because my treatment was all experimental, and when I came in, it was a cancer that was very good at hiding itself. So when I was diagnosed, after my mother had taken me to multiple doctors who told her she was paranoid and to go get more sleep, which of course everyone is able to do that with their first child. And like what? It was,
right. What is that?
Yeah, it was not for my parents knew something was wrong. And it wasn't until Dad came home from a trip. He was a flight attendant and a chef with Qantas, an airline. And he had been away for 3 days, and Mum had been taking me to doctors saying, please, there's something wrong. And Dad hadn't seen me for a couple of days, and I had declined so rapidly. And I remember not being able to move my legs that day. It was the first day I couldn't move my legs. And Dad was like, this is ridiculous. So he bundled us all up. And Mum and Dad got us to the ER. And that's where I was diagnosed with nephroblastoma, end stage, and given 2 weeks to live. So it was pretty intense. There was no, my parents had to sign a waiver form to say that they wouldn't get upset or they wouldn't pursue legal action if the treatment killed me outright, because that was a whole possibility. And it began, and it did not stop until I think I became a day patient at like 6 or 7. But it was so music was this thing that could take me away from being in a place where, like, I'd never been in air conditioning before. So I asked my poor mother, are there heaters in heaven? Because I'd heard the doctors talking about how bad it was, that what I had. And it was the strangest thing to be this kid from the bush who was suddenly in a city hospital surrounded by people I didn't know. But there was always someone humming something. My parents always kept music in my life. I think I wore out 3 VHS tapes of The Wizard of Oz.
I love
it's my favorite movie.
It's beautiful.
It's movie.
I mean, it's probably, I think it's where I learnt Scarlett's, the character that I played on Nashville, which is the biggest job I've ever done. That's where I learnt her accent. It was always my favorite. I haven't had any accent training myself. So it just became this kind of portal into a place that was not full of tubes and beeping machines. And even though, it wasn't my childhood was just different. It wasn't better or worse than anybody else's. I didn't know much different. It changed so rapidly. So, but music was, my grandmother sang to me. My dad has a beautiful voice. So does mom. My granddad on the other side. We're a musical family. So.
And her dad is one of the best whistlers I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Wow.
He can whistle anything.
It's ridiculous.
That's very cool.
That is
It's a unique
awesome.
talent. That's awesome.
That is. So when did songwriting come in for you guys? When did you guys really start digging into songwriting? Before you guys wrote songs, did you kind of keep any poetry or journals or anything like that?
I did. I was not, when you live in hospital like that, it's difficult to socialize like everybody else does. And I was pretty introverted. So I wrote in journals, weirdly, like the character that I played on Nashville, probably from like age 7. And I would write everything that was in my head. And a lot of it was poetry. And I still do it now. And it's so, I remember thinking, like, as a teenager, like, what is this? What is the point of this? Why do I compulsively do this? I should be able to socialize with people. It turns out I can't. I'm terrible at it. But it slowly morphed into more poetry and songwriting than anything else. And then I ended up here, which, it's kind of a crazy set of circumstances. You always, like, you taught yourself.
Yeah, I kind of jumped in really late when it came to songwriting and playing guitar, because I moved to Nashville in October of 2000, and I didn't know how to play guitar, and I had never written a song.
I read you had like a $250 guitar and no songs under your belt. You just said, I'm going.
Yeah. And I just was like, I'm going to roll the dice and see what happens. And just started to teach myself, a handful of chords, and started, kind of making up songs that felt good to me. And I basically just was like, if these suck, nobody's going to want to come back and hear them. So, I probably worked on songs and playing guitar for about 2.5 to 3 years before I played my first show in Nashville, like a little opening slot at a club. But that was sort of how I started. And, I just never stopped.
That's awesome. What finally made you make the jump to Nashville? Because Connecticut to Nashville, I mean, I'm sure you didn't go there on vacation all the time or whatnot to Nashville, but because
right,
not that short of a drive. But what finally pushed you to go there in 2000 and say, this is where I'm meant to be?
It was a combination of things. Because when I decided that I wanted to do something creative with my life, I was either going to try my hand at acting or I was going to try my hand at music. And if I could have moved to New York, but being from Connecticut, New York felt really close. Like, it didn't really feel like I was going very far away. Like, it didn't feel like an adventure. And then Los Angeles was all the way across the country. And my poor mother would have had a heart attack if I had moved to LA. And somebody suggested Nashville, and I never really saw myself as any kind of I didn't really have a desire to be any kind of particular genre of songwriter or artist. I just wanted to start playing and writing songs. So it wasn't like country or pop or folk or any of that stuff. It was, I didn't know. And so somebody suggested Nashville, and I went down and visited for a weekend, and I just literally fell in love with the city. Really? I felt like everybody was so kind and friendly, and I didn't really know anybody in town. I knew like 1 or 2 people that lived down here. And it was just one of those things that I felt like the city sort of opened its arms to me when I was visiting, and was like, yeah, I could make this home. Still not knowing if I was going to be any good at what I wanted to do, but
turned out all right.
But it turned out all right.
Things are working out, right?
So you still remember the old Nashville, 23 years ago Nashville. So
for sure.
That was around the time I think I first visited. Like, I remember a place like Fiddle and Steel. That was my favorite place to hang out in Printer's Alley.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
So that was one of my favorite bars to hang out to. But and you landed an opening gig with Johnny Lang with Johnny Lang at the Ryman, which is impressive. And also you toured with John Hyatt. John Hyatt was one of my favorites. Tell me a little bit about touring with John Hyatt, buddy. That's just amazing.
It was 9 years, and it was an education. It was an adventure. I toured around the world with him. I went to Australia for the first time with him. I went to the UK and Europe for the first time with him. And actually when I was initially brought into the Hyatt camp, I had sort of been pursuing the solo artist thing and had been, sort of, as happens in the music business, you start to assemble a team around you and you're making music and you think you're about to quote unquote make it. And then, as happens, you get dropped and things fall apart. And then you're like sitting there going, I'm broke and I don't know what I'm doing. And, right around that time, a buddy of mine got hired on as John Hyatt's new tour manager. And he called me and said, hey, I just got hired on as TM. You want to come out and sell merch? And I just paused, like on the phone. I just paused because, you move to town and you think, man, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna, I don't know, something's gonna happen, and then it doesn't happen, and you're kind of like, well, man, I want to be the one on stage. I don't want to sell T-shirts. But my buddy, I paused on the phone, and my buddy goes, man, I know you don't have shit going on. And so I was like, okay, I'll do it. Yeah, I was like, he's an honest, dear friend, and so I took the gig and I did a 3-month run with him selling T-shirts. And I think I ended up selling T-shirts for him for about 9 months. And then his guitar tech and drum tech was going on to another gig. And I said, I want that gig. So I shadowed him for an entire tour and learned his job. And when he left, I slid right into that job.
You're ready to go.
Guitar tech, drum tech. And then it wasn't too long after that, John said to his manager, I think I want some background vocals on this next tour. And he said, you already got the guy on the road. He said, what are you talking about? And he said, Brando. And Hyatt always called me Brando. And he's like, really? And he had no idea I sang. And he goes, tell him to learn the stuff and we'll try him out in rehearsals. So I basically took 2 weeks and learned his whole catalog and went into rehearsals and I was singing with him ever since. And I made 3 records with him, and it was a good time. It was an education I could not have paid for. Just
awesome.
To watch somebody who's brilliant create and get to be in the creative space with him, in the professional space with him, on a tour bus at 2 a.m, in an airport at 4 a.m, like it was just a really cool thing. And he and I stay in touch. We just were texting last week.
That's cool.
He's a hero and he's a friend. So it's really cool.
John Hyatt was actually my second concert I ever went to because when I came home from the Kiss concert, my dad's like, now don't tell your mom everything from the concert. I am telling my mom everything from the concert. So the next concert I went to was John Hyatt and Hootie and the Blowfish.
Nice.
That's cool.
So I'll never forget that. I was like 97 and I went and got to see that. And that's when I fell in love with John Hyatt. And when I was researching for the show and saw you play with him, I'm like, man, that's just amazing because he's an amazing singer-songwriter. And that's why I think I fell in love with you guys too so much. I love the singer-songwriter and the storyteller. And especially when we saw you guys at City Winery, the stories and everything else that went along with the songs was just amazing. So I could see the influences you guys have had from that and what you guys have learned from those guys over the years. So, well, like I mentioned, I first met you guys at the Genesee Theater years ago when you were on the Nashville tour, and I could see the chemistry. Brandon, when you're out there playing guitar and Claire was up there singing, I could see the chemistry between you two back then. I mean, this is probably like 2014, 2015-ish, I think, around there or so. And I just want to know, I mean, I'm sure you guys have told the story a million times, but how did you first meet? How did you guys cross paths? How did Bowen Young come about?
Well, gosh, we first met. I had my first solo show outside of the TV show Nashville because that had blown up, and my team was like, "Do you want to? Have you ever sung with band? Do you want to do you want to write music? And I was, writing in my little book so that people would leave me alone. Like, I mean, okay, cool. And my first solo show outside of the TV show stuff was at the Bridgestone, which I was like, okay. It was like
It's a pretty big first.
It's a little intimidating. Yeah.
I know. I'm like, okay, I've sung into a microphone, only ever on camera, and like sweet Buddy Miller taught me how to use a microphone. We're still friends. It's just a testament to his patience. He's a good person. So I'd never sung with band before, and I was used to doing musicals before I came here. So I'm standing out there with my back to the band, like looking for the guy with the stick, and he's not there. I'm like, oh. So I was all set to do this show, and the person who was going to be singing the duets from the Nashville show with me dropped out at the last minute. And my team were like, don't worry, we know this guy. We've really wanted you to sing with him for a really long time. He's a good friend. And he sings real high. And he's a lovely person. So I wasn't there for the next bit.
Well, so I got a text message. I was at home actually working on Hyatt stuff. And I was getting ready to go out on a long run with John. And I got a text message that said, stop what you're doing, download this song, and call me. So I did, and I listened to the song, and I called, and Claire's former manager said, hey. I went, hey, can you sing that song? Yeah, I can sing it. Can you kill it? Yeah, I can kill it. Great. I need you at the Bridgestone Arena in 48 hours to sing with my client. And I was like, what are you talking about? It was a Wednesday, and I was leaving on Friday night for this long run with Hyatt. I said, I'm in rehearsals with Hyatt all week. This is going to be crazy. We got a midnight bus call. She said, tell me you can make it happen. And I was like, okay, I'll make it happen. So I left Hyatt rehearsals probably around 4:30, 5 o'clock, went home, changed my clothes.
Came straight down
To the Bridgestone, met Claire for the first time in her dressing room.
Sang the song through twice. It was If I Didn't Know Better, from like, it was the most downloaded, played, song from the TV show. No pressure. And a lot of artists would have said no, because that's a huge ask to go and sing in front of a Bridgestone crowd. Like, it was full. It wasn't like there was no dress, like nothing was curtained. It was terrifying. So a lot of people would have been like, I'm not prepared for that. No. But you are always a person who's like, yeah, I can do it. It's kind of, I mean, it's like a testament. You were very brave.
Yeah.
And he was fantastic. And he was just, I'd never really had anyone sing that song to me before. And I'm thinking, this guy's an actor. He's pulling my leg. This is ridiculous. He's very pretty. And he left the stage after those duets, and I went to find him after the show, and he'd hopped on the tour bus with Hyatt. So we kept in touch via text, and as planned, started writing together when he got back, and then accidentally fell in love. We tried very hard not to. It didn't work, but it's okay.
It's out.
But how is
That's
it
amazing.
working every day with your best friend, really? Because I mean, we do this show once a week, and we have to be on the same page and everything. You guys are every day just working on music together. How is it? Just
awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, Bowen Young came about because, like, during the pandemic, we were like, it's what we had always wanted. Particularly for me, I was a solo artist. We were both solo artists, and I had wanted to be a band for a really long time. I was letting other people lead, and I realized during the pandemic that if we wanted to do our dream, waiting on other people to catch up and realize that it was a good idea was not something that we had time for.
Yeah. So
we decided, we did everything together anyway. We were always touring together. Like it's what it was meant to be. It's amazing. Like I'm like I said, I'm an introverted person, was not socialized properly at all. And being around lots of people is so much easier now that Brandon's around. There's lots of stuff that I don't know, I just wouldn't have had anywhere near as much fun doing if you weren't there, because you're awesome.
Yeah, and I think that, honestly, like the days of me traveling like I used to travel with Hyatt or on some of these other tours that I've been on, where you go away for 2 or 3 months at a time. Like, that's fine when you're single, but like once you find your person, once you like get to that place where you're like happy and like legitimately genuinely happy with your person, like there's no way I would be able to or feel comfortable leaving for huge chunks of time like that now that Claire and I are together. And like she said, we did everything together before anyway. We wrote songs together. I was her guitar singing partner. Like, she wrote songs for my solo records with me, you know.
He was adopted into the Nashville tour and then the cast at the very end.
Yeah, so it was one of those things where it's just like it all made way too much sense.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, he's the real thing. Can we have him?" I was
Yeah.
like, "He will be a part of it."
Yeah, so we
It was
just
destiny.
So, Brandon, 2015, the Opry at the Ryman. What made you to say this is the time? This is the time to do this right now and propose.
you know, it's one of those things when you know, and it was you know, I had put together enough money to buy, you know, a ring, and you know, it's a covert activity, you know, when you're like designing a ring
Did very well.
quietly and having it, you know, built and picking out the stone and doing the whole thing. And it was one of those things where I don't know what made me go, tonight's the night. It was just, you know, if it was I had it planned out. I had a decoy gift so that she wouldn't expect.
That's good.
So I had a friend of ours who was an artist kind of draw out in a very artistic way the lyrics to the very first song that we wrote together.
He's a calligraphy artist.
And I had it framed and wrapped. And so when we played the early show of the Opry, I had the ring in my pocket. And when we got done, we went up to our dressing room and I gave her the decoy gift. And while she was
gorgeous,
while she was opening the decoy gift was when I got down on one knee.
I looked up and I was like, "Oh,
Oh, we're doing this now. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And asked her, and in a very Australian way, she responded with, "What do you reckon?" And
sorry about that.
and
Like, yes, Brandon, marry.
and then we had a quick FaceTime call with her family and my family.
He had already asked my parents.
Yeah.
So they all knew. They were like, "Oh."
Claire, did you have any idea it was coming?
We had talked about, like, we were inseparable from pretty much like the get-go. And I remember the night we were sitting at one of our favorite bars looking at each other, and we called it, and I was like, I don't want to do it without you. Because he was like, "I'm calling it. I'm all yours." So I knew that I was going to spend the rest of my life with this person. I just didn't know he was gonna ask me like right before we walked on stage.
At least it was a little bit better, so at least it was flawless almost.
It was beautiful. I mean, I know I never wanted to get married as a kid. I was never that person who had dreams of, and I think it's beautiful that people do.
Yeah.
Everyone's different, but I never wanted to get married. I never thought that I would. It was not a dream of mine. So I never had this thing in my head of like, oh, my perfect proposal would be. But it was the most perfect, beautiful thing. So, and you actually did catch me by surprise.
There you go.
At the timing, but I was like, absolutely. Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
Heck yeah.
That's
At
beautiful.
least you didn't pull on me. So when I did, I kneeled down on her foot and I asked her to marry me, and she's like, "You're on my foot." I'm like, "Oh no."
He was so nervous.
I was. We were in West Virginia. We were at the church, and my parents got married, and my aunt and uncle got married, and so it's kind of like a family church. And we were trying to pull all these doors to go inside. I wanted to do it inside, but no doors were open.
The church was yeah.
So she went up these stairs, and I just ran up behind her, and I like tripped up the top stair and landed on her knee, or landed on her toes with my knee. I'm like, So it was a disaster.
It was a little awkward.
It worked out.
But mission accomplished, like you said, Brandon. Mission accomplished.
That's great.
You guys are still kicking it. You're doing okay.
We're doing all right.
So Claire, you spent a few years on the TV show Nashville, which is that what brought you to Nashville too in the first place?
It is. The day I had the audition, I walked in with the accent that Scarlett had throughout the whole series. I figured it would go. It was such a beautiful role. I figured it would go to somebody well known and who worked their ass off for a really long time in LA, or I don't know. I didn't think it would go to me. But I figured I'm just gonna go in and have a good time and meet some people, because I'd only been in the US a couple of weeks when this audition came along. And I was actually in New York doing ADR for my first US film that was a Western we'd shot out in New Mexico. So I came back to LA, got this audition, and walked in as what Scarlett became without even knowing. She was originally supposed to be a tall, lanky, dark-haired, sort of very brooding, sexy person, and then I walk in like well,
I feel like you put a lot of yourself in that character too. I feel like that was a lot of just who you really were, that character, which was amazing to see that. Do you feel like the show ended with stories left to be told?
Yeah, and I'm so glad that we're I mean, it was so much fun. I mean, Nashville has grown so much. There was so much to Nashville. I didn't realize how special it was when they told me. Like, my agent was like, "Congratulations, kid, you got the role. You're moving to Nashville." I was like, "Okay, where's that?" No idea. I knew it was special, but I didn't know how special. And as long as there are people out there with a dream to do music, or be in the music industry in some way, as long as there's somebody out there writing poetry that gets put into put to music, there will be more stories in Nashville. Nashville's not going anywhere. And we, like, the cast are all still friends, and it's really exciting. We've just put the tickets on sale in the UK for the Nashville reunion show, which will be featuring Bowen Young music. So I'm really excited about that, because they were always so encouraging about all the actors to pursue our own musical sort of bodies of work. So we put the tickets on sale, and they went really fast. So we've just added 2 more shows in Manchester and Glasgow, I think, and we're
That's awesome.
It's really lovely. It's something, and they're so excited. It changed my whole life.
A little city in the United States has come and gone global. It's so cool just because of that TV show.
Yeah, it's beautiful to be a part of something that, like, the overarching, one of the most common thing that people would say was I wasn't a country music fan. Not that they didn't like it, they just didn't have an inroad in. They were like, I didn't know how songs were written, or what a songwriter really did, or all the different parts of the music industry, or how broad a genre country music really is. Like, we live in the Americana sphere, so did my character Scarlett. And so people saying I wasn't a country music person, and I didn't know anything about the music industry, but then Nashville came out, and now I love it. And that's global. It's so beautiful to have been a part of something that made so many people so happy, and now we get to keep doing it live. It's kind of like it never stopped, really.
It's like the gift that keeps giving.
When I saw the tour be announced, I'm like, yes, they're coming back. Hopefully you guys come back and do some US dates too. We'll keep our fingers crossed.
We're working on it.
So that's awesome. So what does 2023 look like for you guys? We talked a little bit about the Nashville show, but you guys working on music or anything else? What are you guys working on for this year?
Yeah, we haven't stopped working on music.
It's been
amazing.
It's been wonderful. Yeah, just anytime that we're not on tour, we're writing or recording in the studio, and we're going to go back in and record some more songs just to finish up the album, which will be coming out later this year. And we don't have an exact release date yet, but as soon as we do, we will make sure we let you know. But we're really excited. We're going to do some touring in the United States. We're going to do some touring in the UK, just, not including the Nashville reunion tour. just as Bowen Young, and then we're going to do some touring in Australia as well.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so it's going to be a packed year. Lots of music, lots of new songs, and yeah, we're thrilled. We're really thrilled.
Fantastic.
Claire, have you got to go back and perform in your hometown in Australia yet?
I have been back a few times. We've
Nice.
toured. So we would film like 10 months out of the year, and then the other 2 would tour. And my solo record, even before I had music out, we toured in Australia, and it was funny playing the Metro and selling it out, which was a place I used to work.
Yeah.
I didn't even work behind the bar. I was like cleaning the floor there. I cleaned up something terrible in the middle of the dance floor there that somebody had done without anyone seeing. It was Bacardi Fest, so it had like pink and green feathers sticking out of it. It was horrific. But going back and playing that place that I used to clean the floor at and selling, and having people sing our songs back to us. And so, yeah, we pretty much started touring like 2016. I think we went back for the first time.
Yeah,
I bet that was a full circle moment for you too.
Oh yeah,
it was. So we go back we went back every year up until the pandemic hit, and we didn't see my family for 3 years. That was weird. But now it's like, it's so wonderful to see live music coming back and being supported, making people happy.
Interesting story about the Metro where Claire used to work. The first time I went to Australia was with John Hyatt on tour, and we played the Metro,
which is a music venue. It's cool. Yeah.
We played the Metro 3 months after Claire had stopped working there.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Man.
We just missed each other by 3 months.
And it was weird. It was that night cleaning the thing off the floor that my brother picked me up in our dad's car, and I was miserable, and he said, "Dude, you need to start singing again. You kind of stopped, and I don't know why." And I got, I don't know, listened to people who said that I couldn't because I was trained for opera. It's so boring. And what I was doing, the noises I was making, wasn't singing according to the instructors that I was working with, and I believed them. And my brother was like, "Dude, I live down the hall from you, and you don't even sing in the shower anymore." And he's saying all of this to me while I'm covered in what I cleaned up off the floor, because I picked the bucket up and tried to put it in the sink and slipped because the sink was very high and I'm not, and it went all over me. So he was like, "You smell like shit." I was like, "Honey, that." So this conversation 4 o'clock in the morning after that shift, that was the catalyst for me leaving Australia and ending up in Nashville. It was all very weird.
Something had to make you had to be the jump. So that was it.
Yeah,
it's funny. We always joke around because there's an amusement park by us called Six Flags, and Jillian used to work there a lot. And I used to always go there. I had a season pass. I always go there, and my favorite place to eat is where she works. So I'm like, I bet you served me like some fajitas one day or something.
That's awesome.
So I'm like, I just didn't know it.
That's
I love that.
I think I've been to Six Flags once, and it's like, I feel like their motto was like, "How far can we push the human body before it dies?"
That sounds about right.
That's great. It's really fun.
I love that.
Six Flags.
Love that. So we're gonna move over to our sponsored part of the night, our Powered by Poddex section. We pulled a couple cards earlier. The first one was, do you guys plan things out in detail, or are you guys more spontaneous?
Both. We like to be really clear about what we're playing in the show. But I mean, the little run that we did before we played Chicago, the Atlanta show was the first one of that run, and I had lost my voice. Somebody had handed me a snotty toddler, and
it happens. Yeah.
Didn't know how bad it would bite me. And Brandon rewrote the whole set list so that the range of my voice that I had lost, that we wouldn't have to use it. So you got to be quick on your feet if you're going to call an audible, but we do like to be organized.
Yeah, and I would say in life in general, not necessarily when it comes to playing shows or things like that, we're kind of creatures of habit. So our spontaneity like if we're going, let's say we're going out to dinner, our spontaneity is only 3 places, and we pick between our 3 favorite places, and those are the places we always go.
Yeah.
And we very rarely deviate unless like our manager's like, we're going out to dinner to something something, and then we go wherever. But for us, we're just sort of very like, we've got our little spots, and that's where we go. And we're just kind of very much creatures of habit.
Yeah, I think we were like that too.
Yeah,
we're not really
kind of
too,
like that
too
too.
spontaneous. So, well, last year I attended Americana Fest, and you guys were going to do I don't know if you guys did or you guys were going to do a panel about mental health and like around music and stuff. Did you guys ever do that panel?
He
Yes.
did it. I was filming.
Yeah,
Okay,
Claire.
I remember something got pushed back or something. I remember because we were going to attend it and we ended up not being able to. So when I was pulling cards and I came across this question, but I know you guys are advocates for mental health too. And what are a couple of things that you guys do for your mental health to help keep it in check for yourselves?
Well, just honestly, one of the things that has made a really big difference has been talking about the home invasion that we had during the pandemic. Somebody broke in and tried to hurt us. It was awful.
I was gonna say you guys are gonna do Dangerous Love tonight, right? Because
Well,
are you guys gonna perform it? What was
we
that?
weren't going to, but we can.
I don't know, because I was gonna save that story in case you guys did, but it's up to you guys because that story just was amazing. Just like just how it went about. So, just if you guys have not heard that story, that's the story you need to hear.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Well, I just think it was. Do you want me to tell the whole thing?
If you guys want to talk a little bit about it,
if you feel like it, you don't have to. Yeah.
Well, the mental health aspect of this is that the more we tell the story, the more it's kind of helping us deal with it. And it has become a vehicle for us to say to anybody out there who something has happened to them and it's too much for them to carry alone. We're all like, so many of us are taught like to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and shut up about it. And that's the strong thing to do, but it's not at all. It's like, if you need to talk to somebody, there is great strength in that. And that's something that both of us have had to do after this particular event, which, long story short, for the people tuning in now, it was about almost midnight on a Sunday night. And I saw the security system go off, looked at my phone, and there was a bloke hunting around the truck out the front of the house. And I called out to Brandon, who was in the other room, and told him, and he said, yeah, he's standing like he's near the front door now. Brandon was looking out the window. So this is weird. So we went down and just near the front door and thought we'll just make some noise, because sometimes kids check car doors and take change and stuff, and we didn't want to like ruin anyone's life. So we just made some noise so that he knew that whoever they were knew that we were here. And our dog, who's a 200-pound Irish Wolfhound, was really irritated and he was upset. And he's not normally like that at all. And we kind of look at him like, sweetie, what's wrong? And Brandon said, I'm just going to go down to the next level, which is the level that we're on now, where the living rooms are. And he said, I'm just going to check the back door to make sure everything's cool. I'm sure it's fine. And he got about 12 feet from the back door when we heard it slide open. And Brandon was so quick, he said, sweetie, he's in the house, get upstairs. So we ran up and barricaded ourselves in our bedroom and called 911 and waited. And we're listening to this guy slowly, methodically walk around on this level. We were upstairs. Kind of was really weirdly nonchalant of walking around the house. And I figured, waiting for dispatch to answer the call, okay, he's going to go past the music room and he'll just take a bunch of stuff and he'll see where the truck keys are, because they're like, you can't get through the house without seeing these things. I was like, and clearly he knows where the truck is, so he'll take the keys and the stuff and he can have it. I don't care. But then we heard him walk past the music room where most of that stuff is and start up the stairs to our bedroom. And there was this strange cascading series of events, listening to him walk up the stairs slowly, methodically, and seeing the door handle of our bedroom turn, and he knew exactly which room to come to. There's multiple rooms up there, but he seemed to know where to go. And anyway, it turned into this. It changed from that, oh, he's here to just take stuff, to, oh, he's here for us. Okay, that's something else that changes you forever, I guess. And Brandon was really very tempered and calm, and warned the guy. He said, if you come in here, something really bad is going to happen. And the guy didn't care. He said some pretty scary things through the door. And Brandon warned him again. And the response was the guy doing everything he could to get through that door to us. And it was so violent. Like, his voice was calm, but his actions were so terrifyingly, like, violent, vicious. And I was sitting on the floor, and normally it will take dispatch, like, it would have taken the police half an hour to get to us. That's what dispatch was saying. They'll be there in about 20 minutes by this point. And I'm on the floor holding onto the dog so that he didn't run at the door. And probably holding onto your leg, sorry. Making your foot go blue, thinking I'm going to have to do the worst thing that I have ever been asked to do in my life to keep the love of my life safe. Like, I've had my life threatened before, and that's a different thing. I had processed that, but I had never had, like, been faced with having Brandon taken away. And he's the other half of my heart. It was like, we both discussed it afterwards, and we felt exactly the same way. We were going to have to do something really terrible to stop this person from what he wanted to do to us. And I was watching the door start to bow in because he was hitting it so hard, and listening to this, like, the wood was starting to splinter, and it was like down to the millisecond when a police car with an officer in it who had forgotten that he was on shift that night, and his mates called him and were like, where are you? And he was like, on the couch. And they were like, no, you're not getting your cruiser. And he said he got into the cruiser, and the first call that came through was ours, and he just happened to live 2 miles from us.
Wow.
And he said he came as fast as he could, definitely got air going over the train tracks. That's the only reason they arrived in time to stop this person doing, like, the door was coming in. And they screamed into the driveway and extracted him from the house. He actually answered the door for them and told them it was his house and that they should go away.
That's amazing.
Well, didn't they recognize him, or didn't they know this guy or knew of this guy or something?
No.
Oh, no. Okay. I thought you said they recognized the guy and they knew he was lying right away or something.
Oh, they did know that he was. They were like, yes, that's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
we don't buy that. Yeah.
He told a few different stories. It said that he was the locksmith, and said that it was his house and they should fuck off, and so he could go upstairs and finish what he was doing.
Oh, wow.
And then that God told him later on. God told him that to come here, and then
Crazy.
there was one other one I can't remember, but it was awful. And we were left sitting there. Another very strange 4 o'clock in the morning after all the officers had left and the detectives had gone home, and looking at each other like, did someone really just try to kill us? Like, it's the strangest thing. You're like, why? We didn't do anything. It was very strange. And he knew the house way too well.
And that's where the new beautiful single "Dangerous Love" came from, because when you guys went to that, right, I know you guys weren't ready for it at first. You guys were talking about, and that's kind of your first time you kind of were able to let some emotions out and then put it together in that song. And that song is just so beautiful, just the way it came out.
Thank you.
So I mean, just
Well, we're glad you guys are okay. That's terrifying, and
thank you.
And happy that you're processing and that you're getting stronger and stronger through telling your story, because I know that had to be absolutely terrifying.
Pretty life altering.
It was, not something we'll forget. That's for sure.
Yeah. We were very grateful for our producer, Sean McConnell, who's a wonderful artist. We had that right that day, and we hadn't slept. We were kind of a bit out of our minds. And he said, like, he was like, I can't believe you're here, when we got to the studio, because we just decided that we weren't going to let this individual take any more joy from us. And he was like, can't believe you're here. We don't have to do anything today. You want to just come in and have tea? So we did, and talked and talked and talked. And then all of a sudden, the first lines of the song just sort of appeared. And the first lines are, there are no words, because there aren't.
Yeah.
But we're grateful.
Yeah, when you guys told that story at City Winery, we're just like in awe, just listening on, because we don't even know. Like, I don't know what I would do in that situation. You don't plan for stuff like that.
Yeah.
No one knows what
Do
they
what you
would.
have to do to protect your family.
Yeah. And the weird thing is, we had talked about, I think probably because I live in a place, I live here. I used to work in a place, like I worked with horses. I used to muster cattle. And if something happened, help was not on the way. I've always lived like way out. So you have to take care of yourself. You can't be waiting for somebody to fix it. So we had talked about if anybody ever tried anything like that, which was weird. Like, of course, like,
You never think it's going to happen, but we had discussed, what
we would do,
where we would go. And quite frankly, like, after this has happened, we've talked to all of our dear friends and said, make a plan.
Yeah.
Be prepared and make a plan, because you never think it's going to happen to you. But when it does, at least you've had a conversation about it and there is a plan.
And we did exactly what we talked about, apart from the bit where it was like coming down to the wire, and that was the confronting part, that we were like, we're going to have to deal with this ourselves. It's the police aren't going to arrive on time.
Yeah.
But it has, like I said, become a vehicle to say to people, if there is something that has been on your mind or on your heart or whatever, that is just too much to carry, you don't have to do it on your own. And the greatest gift that you can give to yourself and the people who love you, who you love, is to let somebody help you and talk about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We're going to move on to our Connecting Melodies with Memory segment. So this is a little fun part. We'll bring the pace back up a little bit. Yeah, a little lighten up a little bit. I've picked 4 songs that, I think you guys might know. We'll see. And the first memory you have with this song, we're just going to talk about for a brief second. One might be for Brandon, one might be for Claire. We'll see how it works out. Go ahead and hit the yellow one. I think this is more of a Brandon one. So the first Johnny Lang song, when you opened up for him, man, when you hear "Lie to Me," Johnny Lang, where does it take you?
Immediately, I think of my friend Drew Ramsey. I think of my friend Shannon Sanders, who worked with Johnny for quite a few years, writing songs and producing records for him. And I think of being in the studio with Johnny in LA, and what a kind soul he is. And obviously, you never forget your first time playing the Ryman. So the fact that Johnny was gracious enough to allow me to open the show for him was a beautiful thing. And I haven't seen him in years, but he made a lasting impression on me of just an incredibly sweet human and a monster talent.
Oh, dude, I've got to see him live a couple times. Amazing.
Yeah.
All right, this next one, Claire, you might know this one pretty good. So we'll see. Go ahead, the green one. Take you back to Nashville a little bit. Every Time I Fall in Love. When you hear that song, where does it take you?
I mean, it takes me back to the stunt Bluebird, playing that with Colin Linden, who's wonderful. Then I found out that Harry Connick Jr. cut that song too. I was like, oh, cool.
Right.
Nice.
And I'm a big Harry Connick Jr. fan, so
yeah, he's great.
Yeah, it kind of blew my mind a little bit. It makes me think of Colin Linden, who he has played. Actually, he is the person who's playing the dobro at the front end of Dangerous Love on the recording that's up now. Just one of the most beautiful, soulful, gorgeous souls, and also like a Grammy and Juno Award winning artist who we got to work it's one of those relationships that teaches you so much that you can't go to university for that. He's kind of my John Hyatt. Mr. Colin Linden. He's pretty cool.
Well, speaking of that, let's hit the green one. This will be more of a Brandon one here.
Have a little faith in me.
Have a little faith. John Hyatt, man. I love that song. One of my favorites. When you hear that song, man, where's it take you?
I literally just got chills. And it's strange what, why it would give me chills, but I literally have no idea how many times I've sang that song with John. It's a lot, like a lot. But the opportunity to get to sing a song by one of the greatest songwriters in American history and one of the greatest songs ever written, to get to sing that song night after night is magic. And I don't take it for granted. It was a cool time.
That's one of those songs that's gonna be here long after any of us are. That song's gonna be here for a long time.
For sure.
All right, we're gonna finish it up with Yellow. Claire, you might like this one. Let's see.
I got a bad desire.
Bruce Springsteen, I'm on fire. I know I was reading some of your influences and what you're listening to when you're younger, and Bruce came up a couple of times. So when you hear I'm on fire, where does that take you?
Oh, gosh. Actually, the only time I'd ever missed a shooting day of Nashville was when I was in the hospital. It's like when you have cancer as a kid, or anyone who's ever had cancer, and this is an oncology nurse. Like, people are like, oh, great, you're over it. It's when you get cured, they're like, everything's back to normal, which is total bullshit. It never goes back to normal. You're missing pieces, and you're traumatized, and you have other things that come up. So I some of my missing pieces kind of caused an issue, and I got stuck in the hospital. And a dear friend came in and was like, Bruce is on tonight, and I know they're telling you that you should go home tomorrow, but he's at the Bridgestone, and like now, like, can we? And I asked my nurse, I was like, can I please go? And they were like, okay. So I got to go. And they hustled me out of the hospital with a photo. There was a photo somewhere of me kind of like in the crowd, like, not like looking half dead.
Yeah.
But I remember my friend ripping my hospital wristband off. We're in the Bridgestone, like at the elevators, and there's lots of people coming in taking photos of me because of the Nashville show. Like, oh my goodness. And they're like, oh, but hang on a second, and tore my hospital bracelet off, chucked it in the trash can that we were standing in front of at the elevator, and put the Springsteen VIP band on. I was like, oh, this is an interesting transition, and then had the most incredible night of my life, like watching Bruce I'm pretty sure he sweated on me. He did the apron, like he was on the catwalk, and I was like out of my mind, tired, and it was just the wildest experience. Yeah.
That's how you are with Rob Thomas and Matchbox 20. I think he's sweating on me.
Yeah, I'm a huge Rob Thomas.
She's a big Rob Thomas guy. I get to see Bruce for the first time this summer, so I'm pretty excited. He's playing Wrigley Field, and I got tickets for that, so I cannot wait to see him.
I haven't seen him yet, so maybe you and I this summer will
be
our first time seeing Bruce.
I'm excited. We're big Eric Church fans too. That's what all this stuff is behind us, is all Eric Church stuff. We kind of watched him since he was really young, just big songwriter fans, and he's playing the next night. And so I'm doing Springsteen Church back tonight. I'm like, this is gonna be fun.
That's right.
So let's see, guys. So before we let you guys go and we get you guys to sing one for us, we like to do the hot seat. We normally do 60 seconds, put some time on it. I think I'm just going to kind of just ask you guys a question, since there'll be two different answers. But your first CD or vinyl you ever purchased, or your first music that you ever purchased, what was it?
The first CD, well, there were two at the same time. It was Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, the soundtrack, and the Cranberries, No Need to Argue.
Yes. Brandon, what about yours?
I think it was Led Zeppelin. I think it was either Physical Graffiti or Houses of the Holy. But I'm a big Robert Plant fan, and I just loved Zeppelin records, and it was definitely not my parents' cup of tea, so that may have been a little
They survived.
Sneak out, grab that one from the record.
That was me in the 90s. But whenever my parents were listening to, I was the opposite. So I was like, whatever. If you guys are getting away from Nashville, going on vacation, where do you guys like to go? What's your best favorite vacation spot?
Oh gosh, my parents' backyard in Australia on the river. We live on the Minamara River, back home, and that just being able to be with family, and it's a very small town that's really secluded, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, no, I would definitely second that. It's funny. Claire and I are not really big vacation people.
We still haven't been on a honeymoon.
Yeah, I mean, we never went on a honeymoon. We travel a lot for work, and we get to see a lot of amazing, beautiful places for work. And there just hasn't been a lot of time for vacations, and quite frankly, we get to make music for a living. We get to do it together. So most of our sort of downtime is spent with family. So, my sister and brother-in-law and their kids live in Florida. My mom and dad live in the mountains of Georgia. Her parents, and brother and sister-in-law, Sydney and the Minamar River in Australia. So most of our downtime, that's like extended downtime, is spent with family.
Yeah.
Love that. I don't know if you guys are pizza eaters, but who has the best pizza you guys have had while on the road or out? Where's your go-to place?
Oh,
it's really hard.
Well, there's Frank Pepe's in Connecticut,
Mhm.
New Haven. They make an amazing clam pie, and we would always get it for after show food when we'd be on the road. Claire can't have it because she can't have gluten, but and it makes me sad in my heart that she's never experienced it because it's unbelievable.
Pinky Ring makes a good one.
Yeah, there's a place in Nashville called Pinky Ring, which is really good. There's also 5 Points Pizza in Nashville.
I've heard
and
5 Points before, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a place called Manny's House of Pizza downtown, which is also fantastic in Nashville, in the arcade. Yeah.
Nice. All right. What kind of contest would be fun to judge?
I mean,
wow.
I shouldn't. No.
American Idol. I don't know. I mean, I think if I was a judge on American Idol, I feel like I would want to be the nice judge. Like I wouldn't want to be like
I see that, yeah.
I would want to be the one who's like encouraging,
Claire would be the time and she'd be like, nope, you just go.
You'd be a nice judge too.
Oh yeah, I can't stand those.
Yeah, the mean
one. When it was really fashionable for them to be cruel, I was like,
yeah.
Why would you do that? Yeah.
But I have been behind the scenes. It was one of those shows in Australia, and I had done film back there, and one of the hosts came up to me and said, "Oh, you're that girl from that film." I was like, "Yeah," and he was like, "Oh, do you want to come and see what happens behind the scenes here?" Because I had a friend who was auditioning, and I watched them. The judges sit at the desks, and the person sang, and then one of the producers came in and whispered in their ear what to say, and it was awful what to say to the person who was like, bearing their soul.
Yep.
And I was like, ew.
Yeah, no, I'd be the same way.
Yeah, but it's changed a lot now. It's bullying is no longer fashionable, which is so nice.
If you could live in any time period, which one would it be? Where would you guys pick to live in? Would it be in the present, or would you guys go back somewhere else?
Look, Chip said that to me the other day. He was like, "You ever feel like you belonged in a different time?" I was like, "Yeah, but I object to being anybody's property or dying of a hangnail, so he's good."
I agree.
Although got an obsession with 1920s step-ins at the moment, like the
fashion.
Yeah. And so I'm kind of, I don't know. I time travel all the time. It's just through clothing.
Yeah. I feel like if you go, I mean, there are things that I would have loved to have experienced from other time periods, but if you go and live in a different time period, then there's all this music that's been created since that you would miss out on. So it's kind of nice to be in the present.
Yep, I agree. What's the oldest thing you guys own? The oldest thing in your home that you guys own?
My grandpa's chest of drawers is old. It came over when my grandpa was a kid. This chest of drawers had been in his family. It's all tongue and groove, and it's all sort of gnarled and gorgeous in an unrefined way. But it went over the Appalachian Mountains tied to the back of a horse-drawn carriage.
Wow.
And it actually came on. The rope broke and it rolled down the mountain, and they had to turn the horse and buggy around and go back down and pick it up, retie it to the back. And So it's been in our family for I don't know how long, a really long time, and
Memories, man.
now it's in our bedroom, and it's just such a cool piece. And I always think of my grandpa when I see it.
I love
Awesome.
that. I got my parents' old like 1969 record players, like the big cabinet one with the speakers on as the vinyl player. And I'm like, I'll never let that thing go. I'll have that thing forever.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Oh, what's one chore you do not like doing? I'm sure there's one chore that each of you don't like to do.
Well, we have a giant dog, and he does giant shits. So cleaning those up most of the time, Brandon does it very kindly, but they're like the size of a house cat, and it's horrible.
Yeah,
Um,
it's impressive.
yeah, I don't have. There's not.
Dusting. I don't like dusting.
Yeah, okay.
It
Yeah,
was-
we have a lab, and Jillian, the first time we went outside, Jillian's like, nope, I ain't doing this. She's like, those are cow pies.
Yeah.
We've always had little dogs. We transitioned to a big dog, and that was a big transition.
Yeah,
Needless to say,
Oh yeah.
the amount of food they eat and everything
Yep.
that comes out of her.
And the last question I have before we kind of roll into some music and let you guys go for the night, I do appreciate you guys spending some extra time with us. I know that we ran a little over tonight, and thank you guys so much. It's been an amazing interview. But what's something that's still on your music bucket list? Something that you guys still want to accomplish kind of before you call it a day?
we're never going to call it a day. Well,
Yeah.
we were talking about that the other night. It's kind of like wanting to keep evolving as an artist, and we love what we do. So we're never going to stop.
Yeah, I don't see retirement anywhere in our future.
It's not really a thing. We're having too much fun, but gosh, I would love. I don't know.
I mean, there are people that I would like to collaborate with. There are people that I would love Bowen Young to write,
Yeah.
write a song with, or go in the studio and be produced by, or
I feel like
make
finishing
music
a
together.
Crash song is a big one for you.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's kind of there are those people who it would be wonderful to collaborate with along the way, be it Paul McCartney or Robert Plant or
Dolly.
Dolly Parton or Bono, or I mean, some heroes,
Mhm.
but it's I just think writing songs and being in that creative space it's a drug, and the fact that we get to do it together, and then sometimes we get to bring our friends in or people that we admire or look up to, it's just it's magic. So if anybody knows Paul McCartney, we'd love to.
Anybody's listening?
Plug. Yep.
Oh man. Well, can we get you guys to play one real quick before we let you guys go for the night?
For sure.
The only thing is, if you guys could tell us a little story about it, and that'd be it. I mean, that'd be awesome.
Well, let's play the one we were going to play.
Okay.
This song, Skeletons, it was an idea that was brought to us by a wonderful songwriter named Amy Muriello, who's a dear friend of ours. And when Brandon and I first were recording, we were very much, I particularly was like, don't come over here. I've been through a lot and I don't want to get any of it on you because you've been through a lot too. Just like, leave me alone. But I was already in love with him. And he said, it's all right. Like, I'm kind of a train wreck too. So we fell in love. We were going to fall in love anyway. We already were. And this song is all about how it's really easy to love people for their strengths and the stuff that they're good at, the shiny things, but to love someone for their weaknesses, even if they've been through dreadful things, that's something different altogether, and that's us. So this is Skeletons.
I'll give you guys the stage.
Maybe that don't look in your eye. Give me that awful, ugly cry. And don't it's on back. Dark circuits for what you face. Some things can't be easy. Night terrors, cold tremors, blood, sweat, and all your tears. Your weakness, your deepness, that are holding you for years. They say I ought to run, so why don't you go on? Your skeletons don't scare me. I one ghost can't forgive that one time you were lucky to live. Those days you hide your face and cry. I can tell you the way, all the things that you don't say, don't you know? All the time. Oh, don't you know you're beautiful in spite of night terrors, cold tremors, blood, sweat, and all your tears, your weakness, your demons that are holding you for years. Say I ought to run, so why don't you go on, go on? Your skeletons don't scare me. No, your skeletons don't scare me. That thing that haunts you, that's not on you. It never was your fault, I promise. If you fall into that place, I'll kiss your face and hold you up. I'll always meet you where you are. When it gets hard to see the sun, and when you wanna scream and cut and run, I'll run with you. I'll run with you. I'll run with you. Titan, cold tremors, blood, sweat, all your tears, your weakness, your demons that are holding you for years. Say I ought to run, so why don't you go on, go on, get me? Say I ought to run, so why don't you go on, go on, get me? Say I ought to run, so why don't you go on, get me? Your skeletons don't scare me. Your skeletons don't scare me.
Man. I think that is honestly by far one of my favorite
Beautiful.
songs that you guys have done. Like
Mhm.
when I first heard that song, I just fell in love with it. Just the story behind it and just the way it comes together. Just
Beautiful.
guys, thank you so much for spending so much time with us tonight. We appreciate this. I'm so sorry we ran over, but it was such an amazing conversation.
Thank you guys.
Man,
so
thank you
much.
for having us. We really appreciate it. And thank you for coming to the Chicago show. It means a lot.
Anytime you guys are up this way, we will definitely be there because we are
Absolutely.
sold. I'll say
Absolutely.
that was probably one of the best date nights we've had in the longest time.
For
I'm not
sure.
even gonna lie about that. That was just an amazing night. Just to be all,
Wow.
I think we talked about it all the way home. We didn't even listen to music on the way
Yeah,
home. We
yeah.
just talked about the show.
Oh, man.
Remember about halfway home, we turned the radio up and we're like, all right, we're good. But no, we talked all the way home that night.
I know. And you guys played your new song, Aurora. Oh my God, I loved it.
That was
Oh,
Thank you so
it was
much.
amazing. I hope
Oh,
you
that
guys.
means so much. That was the only time we'd ever played it.
I think so. Yeah,
that was
that's what you said.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you guys had the lyrics are on the ground.
Yeah, we're like, thank you. That means a lot. That song's
Oh,
really special to us, and
Yeah.
we're glad you guys liked it.
Yeah. I still don't know the words to it, but I'll learn them.
To see her with almost tears in her eyes during a
Yeah.
song is something special. Like it's
Mhm.
just to see that when it connects with Jillian, I just love that. So something to see. So seeing like a song like that connected to her eyes was just amazing. So
Thank you.
thank you guys so much. Enjoy your Friday night, and we'll have to talk soon, guys. Appreciate
That sounds
everything.
wonderful. You guys be well. Have a wonderful weekend.
I will go
Me
and
too.
enjoy the tour coming up too, guys. It's gonna be amazing. I cannot wait to see what goes along with it.
We sure
Have a
will.
great night, guys.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Cheers.
I could talk to them probably for half an hour. They're just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing people.
It was a great interview.
Guys, thank you
Love
for
talking
hanging
to
on
them.
for so long tonight on this. This is probably one of our longer episodes that we have done lately. But honestly, the conversation, like I said, was just unbelievable. Just talking with those guys is, I don't know. I think
That
they're
was
probably
great.
one of my personal favorites.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
If you guys have not seen a Bowen Young show yet, honestly, you would be just treated to some amazing music if you go out and just. I don't even know how to explain it any more than what we've already said.
I was just going to say, I think the review captured a lot of how it was, so they can read the review on our site, but it was an intimate, beautiful.
Bethany, thank you so much for that. And thank you for tuning in too. Thank you anybody that's still in the chat for tuning in tonight. We will get this episode processed and get it up on all streaming sites over the next couple of days so you guys can hear it again. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let's see. We normally ask questions, but like we always go back to our pod decks lately. So I'll go back to one of ours before we go and sign off for the night. But do you like to plan things out in detail or be spontaneous?
Nope. I am definitely a planning
I don't know what's been going on
person.
upstairs all night.
So, no, I like to plan things out. I'm not very spontaneous. I'm very much, I feel like a kindred spirit of Claire's. I'm an introvert. I don't like to change my routine. But
50-50.
I think that we complement each other well because you are spontaneous and.
Well, if we're doing like a road trip, I want to plan things out. If we're doing stuff like that,
that's true.
I like to plan things out.
That's true. You are, yeah.
But if we're just kind of like don't have anything going on, I'm like, just be spontaneous. Let's go do something. Like, I mean, tomorrow, like we're gonna take the kids and go tubing. Like we're just gonna be spontaneous and go. Yeah, they don't know yet, but so I like doing stuff like that. Just being spontaneous and just going like that. But also like when it comes down to like planning stuff out,
I need to make sure that we've got like budget and like we know where we're going and how long is it going to take and where are we sleeping at night. Like, yeah, I do need to have it planned.
But if you guys did hear any banging or noises or anything in the background, we do apologize for that. I know we talk about it every now and then, but we have a 6-year-old and 8-year-old that likes to run around above our heads all night long while we're doing this show. So
I know I had to disappear for a minute. I wasn't quite sure who was killing who, but there was an ungodly noise coming from upstairs.
Whenever you see Jillian's camera goes off screen, you know she's going upstairs to lay the law.
Make sure. No, not even that. Just make sure everybody's okay.
Yeah, right. I agree. So like I said, once again, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. We have been anticipating this show for the longest time, and we're so glad we finally got it in. I have no words for tonight. This episode was probably one of my top 5 favorites.
I believe that they are just wonderful people,
genuine human
wonderful
beings,
artists, so creative but kind and just
they were meant for one each other. They were meant for each other to find one another because I feel like their souls are just so much alike.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're just
loved them.
You talk about soulmates and stuff. I mean, there was a reason that artist or that person backed out or canceled at the Bridgestone that night. There had to be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everything happens for a reason, and Brandon came in and just killed it, and look what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So everything, like I said, happens for a reason. So love it. But thank you guys. Again, we would like to extend a sincere thank you to Bowen Young for joining us tonight on episode 159. It was an honor to have them on the show, and their passion and drive for music is truly inspirational. We wish them the best of luck on their future endeavors and can't wait to see what they accomplish in the coming years. We are certain that 2023 and beyond will be filled with exciting opportunities for Bowen Young and their musical journey. Don't forget to catch up on everything you missed from tonight and past episodes over at melodiesandmemories.com. And we'll see you guys Monday night for another show with another amazing singer-songwriter. So you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys then.
The Melodies and Memories podcast with Jillian and Aaron Schreiber, brought to you by Arlo Revolution. As we close the book on another chapter, remember, music gives us soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and life to everything. Next week, Jillian and Aaron connect more melodies and memories with the fans and artists they love. Thank you for being a part of this musical journey, and we will see you next time on the Melodies and Memories podcast with Jillian and Aaron Schreiber.